Welcome to Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Today I have the first pistol I ever purchased, the Walther PPKs. The gun used by James Bond and the one that killed Hitler. Sort of. You see, the PP series, which stands for Polizeipistola or police pistol, started its life in 1929. A few short years later, in 1931, the PPK or Polizeipistola Criminal, or Police Pistol Criminal, was released. This took the PP and made it smaller, which is why people often think the K stands for Kurz, which is German for short. So it made the barrel, slide, and magazine well shorter, reducing the capacity and making it more of a concealed carry pistol instead of the full-size PP. Big PP, small PP. The PPK is the firearm that ended that dastardly dictator's reign when he used it on himself, unless you think he's still out there in Argentina. Anyway, this is also one of the firearms used by James Bond in both the films and novels. And if you think that helped influence my initial purchase, you would be correct because I am a nerd. But like I said, this isn't a PP or PPK, it is a PPKs, essentially the child of the two pistols. It has the grip frame of the PP and the shorter barrel and slide of the PPK, and it exists because of a stupid American gun law. The Gun Control Act of 1968 put certain restrictions on the importation of firearms. They all need to meet certain requirements using a point system regarding firearms having a sporting purpose with various requirements, which made many people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. So after all the bureaucratic and oppressive nonsense, the PPK must not have studied well because it failed the test, being short by 1 point.
One short.
So that brings us to the firearm itself, the PPKs, which is still being manufactured today and actually manufactured in the United States, which means they could just make the PP or PPK, but the PPKs has been around the American market long enough that it has found its own niche. The Walther page even says the PPKs is exclusive to the American market, as if it's something to tout, even though it only exists because of a silly law. The pistol is chambered in 380 ACP and is double action, single action, meaning pulling the trigger will pull and release the hammer, or you can have a shorter trigger pull if the hammer is already cocked. The safety also acts as a decocker, which will let you have an initial double action trigger pull if that is your preference. The double action trigger pull is substantially heavier than the single action, as you would expect. There's definitely a noticeable difference. The magazines have a capacity of 7 rounds for the flush fit or the model with a finger rest. The magazine release drops the magazines completely free. The sights are rather small for a modern handgun. There is checkering on the top strap to prevent reflection when aiming down the sights. There is a loaded chamber indicator on the back of the pistol here, which you can feel or see. The slide will lock open on an empty magazine, but there is no slide release. That's the only way to lock it open. To close it, you have to pull back on the slide again and let it go. There's no other way to keep it open other than with an empty magazine. To disassemble the firearm is simple enough. You pull down the trigger guard and you have to push it to one side or the other. It has no retention, so if it's in the middle, it will just go back. So you push it over to one side, pull back the slide, lift up, and then you have the slide, the spring, and the fixed barrel. If this seems familiar, that's because things like the C82 Makarov and the other Makarovs have a similar disassembly. To reassemble is also just as simple. Put the spring back, put the slide in place, pull back, get it back on there, and then that's it. This was my first carry pistol, and one thing I noticed is that though it is stainless steel, if you have a hybrid or leather holster, sweat will collect and actually could create bits of rust in the engraving, particularly in this engraving here. The banner and this side didn't seem to ever attract any. All my holsters are Kydex now anyway, so it wouldn't be an issue today, but I thought I would mention it. As far as shooting it, frankly, it is not the most pleasant. The PPKs that are currently being manufactured actually have an extended beaver tail compared to the one I have, which is good because after I go through a couple boxes with this one, I always either have hammer or slide bite as it kind of goes back and hits me. It's hard to show without actual recoil, but I always get a little bit of bite right about here on my hand. I would assume the extension has fixed this, but I haven't handled one or shot one, so I am not certain. These are certainly pretty pricey for what you get. A blowback firearm in 380 with a limited capacity is less than ideal in a world of Glocks and polymer Wonder 9s. And I know a lot of people care about weight, and being all metal, this would be heavier than some other alternatives that are the same size. I picked mine up used years ago for a good price, and it's a fun conversation piece because of the connection to pop culture and history, and something I can still carry from time to time. So if you want it, get it, but it's not necessarily the best pistol I would recommend for anyone. It's more of something that if you want something kind of interesting or part of pop culture or stylish or something just more for fun, then I think it's probably a good pickup. This would not be my first choice anymore if I was going to say if someone was getting into concealed carry. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Let me know what you think of the PPKs or other Walther series in the comments below. If you have made it this far in the video, consider supporting me on Patreon or joining the Discord. If not that, please at least subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching.